Hi, this is KTM Pappy here. In my last video, Gold Wing on a Budget, I happened to mention that Honda had a service bulletin out on the GL1200, and it's on the 84 and 85 models. And what the service bulletin was, they called it a low-speed drivability. And to improve this, they did some changes in the carburetor. It seems that some 84 and 85 GL1200s had a problem under light acceleration and partial throttle. And what this did, it usually occurred between 2,000 and 3,000 RPMs. And you get a little hesitation, a little stumbling. If you're experiencing this with your bike, you might want to look into this. Service Bulletin is GL1200 number 10, and it was put out in June of 1985. And again, it's for the 84 and 85 models. It was already corrected by the time they came out with the 86s. So if you have an 86, this is already taken care of. I'm going to briefly go through what you have to do. You can get a kit or just get separate parts to install on your bike, and it'll clean up the low speed response. In order to install this kit, you have to remove the carburetor and manifolds, and that requires removal of the entire lower fairing, which is here, in addition to the inner shroud that's in behind that. You have to remove that on both sides. You have to take the manifold clear out because there's not enough room to replace the slow jets with the manifold still in there. You got to remove everything here. You've got to disconnect your fuel line. The first thing I do is just shut off the fuel, make sure you don't have it. This is the cover to the vacuum chamber right here, and your diaphragm is right underneath that vacuum chamber. We'll go around to the other side and take a look. And the reason you have to take both sides off is you have to disconnect your fuel line from the fuel pump, which is right here. You have to go back in there and get things disconnected. I had to loosen up the manifold and slide it. It slides out the left hand side, but you also have to remove the right hand side lower fairing when you're taking it off. You slide it out, and then you start disconnecting the cables, and I've got some diagrams that'll show you about the cables. You've got push-pull cables on the throttle, plus you've got your choke cable. Now I've got big Oscar Mayer wiener fingers, so, and they're not the biggest, but I can't get them in there to disconnect those cables. But one of the first things you want to do is give yourself as much slack on the cables as you can. Now if you take a look up here, you got a lock nut and an adjustment for your cable. So you take and loosen that lock nut and turn that adjuster on the cable as far as you can to give yourself as much slack as possible to disconnect the cable. And you do the same thing over on the clutch or over on the choke side. You've got an adjuster on the choke cable. So loosen that cable up as much as you can. Well, I've gassed up. I'm getting ready to take us on a little shakedown cruise. I've completed the service bulletin. That's GL1200 Service Bulletin number 10, which is a drivability service bulletin, and it consists of a carburetor modification to eliminate the surging problems at low speeds. It consists of replacing the slow speed jet in the carburetor and also replacing the slide needle. And you get the kit. It includes O-rings for the manifold and the air tube O-rings. And I was able to pick those up at eBay for about 75 bucks, which is cheap compared to getting the parts separately if you go to your Honda dealer and get the parts separately. I'm not sure if you can get the slide needles at the Honda dealer now, but I know you can get the slow jets, and that's a primary part of this kit. So far, it seems to have eliminated my surging problems at even throttle and slow speeds between 2,000 and 3,000 RPMs. Right now I'm on the highway, and I'm a little over 3,000 RPMs, but I even noticed the surging problem then. Everything worked good when I rolled the throttle on hard, cleaned up, ran real smooth, but just at even throttle, steady cruising speed, I noticed the surging. It wasn't real bad, but it surged enough to bug me. So I started researching and found the kit available. Picked it up. It's about a 6-hour job for me, but I'm not a motorcycle technician. I think the estimate, if you take it to a shop, is for 4 hours labor to put the kit in. About 4 hours and $400, including the parts. And I didn't want to put out $400, so I decided to get the parts and try it myself. And so far, everything seems to have worked real well. It's not a simple task to pull the manifolds off. You got to pull the whole lower of the fairings, disconnect the choke cable, disconnect the throttle cables, and slide it out. And it doesn't slide out real easy. It comes out the left side after you pull all the lower fairings off. But hey, I'm kind of glad I did it now. It cruises nice and smooth down the highway. Right now I'm doing a real steady 55, but it cruises 70, 75, real nice and smooth. So now I'm getting ready to try it going over a hill and see how it does there. That's where I notice it quite a bit, just steady speed going over the hills. People can't seem to make up their mind what they want to do here. Now, this is a nice shakedown cruise through the country. By the time I get this thing back to the barn, it'll be a total of nearly 200 miles I'm putting on it. So it'll be a good shakedown run. Wow, it rolls on good from 45 to a little over 70, just in high gear. If you got a little surging problem, check it out. I don't remember what the number is on the slide needle, so you can check and see if the kit's already been put in. But I'll post it and put a number on my screen right about here, so you can see what the number is to look for. That number is nearly invisible. You have to look real close. You may even have to put a magnifying glass on it to see if you can read the number, but there's 3 letters to be able to tell if the slow speed drivability kit has been installed. Getting ready to turn off here and take a cruise through the foothills a little and see how it works there. Running in 4th gear, real low speed, about 2,400 RPMs. Wow, I can't believe the difference this is making. Accelerates smoothly on up to 55. When I read the instructions, it said be aware that you might get a slight decrease in fuel economy. Well, I was getting 50 before. If I get 49 afterwards, it won't bother me a bit. You know, when I consider that my Venture Royale was getting about 36 miles to the gallon on the freeway, 49 is still pretty darn good. It's running even throttle, no hesitation at all. Holds up the little grades nice and smooth. Smooth roll on up to 80 miles an hour. Actually, it was closer to 85. Got to watch your throttle hand real close with this. It likes to go faster than you think it's going because it goes up so smooth. I don't know if you could hear that when I was accelerating up, just light throttle, but it's not stuttering one bit. Really feels good now. So if you get a chance, if you're having a problem, I strongly suggest you take the time to go through it. You might want to get a service manual if you're not familiar with the Goldwing, because that service manual sure helped me out. This is my first Goldwing, and not really fully familiar with everything about it, but It works good. You're also going to want to balance and synchronize the carburetors. And YouTube's also got some a few good pages for synchronizing the carburation on these. But also my climber's manual has some good information on synchronizing the carbs. Right here, a steady climb under light throttle is where I noticed a lot of the surging. Okay, getting ready to head back to the house, so I'm going to go ahead and shut this off now. But I hope it was informative for you. And if you have any questions about it, be sure to post the questions. I'll answer all the questions that I get. So we'll talk to you later. This is KTM Pappy saying goodbye for now.